Hey everyone, welcome to this deep dive. Today we're looking at how learning English, it can actually change how your brain works.
Yeah,
It's not just about like expanding your vocabulary or anything like that.
right.
We're talking about some pretty fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it really
Some
is.
really fascinating cognitive benefits.
Absolutely. That's
Okay.
true. This isn't just about, like you said, just acquiring language. It's about how learning English can actually lead to some serious, like, mental rewiring.
Rewiring. Okay, now you've got my attention. So one of the things I saw in the research was this term, foreign language effect.
Yeah,
And
and I can see why you might,
honestly, it sounds a little sci-fi to me.
yeah.
Yeah, it does sound a little sci-fi, the
Oh,
foreign language effect,
yeah,
or FLE. It's this phenomenon where,
yeah.
researchers are finding that people are making different decisions when they're using a foreign language compared to when they're using their native language.
Really?
And not just like small, inconsequential choices. This has been observed in all sorts of decision making,
Wow.
including moral dilemmas
Yeah.
and even financial decisions.
So you're saying, like, if I'm struggling with a tough ethical question, my answer might actually change depending on whether I'm thinking in English or, say, my native French.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One study actually found that when people were presented with a moral dilemma in a foreign language, they were more likely to choose the more utilitarian option.
Interesting.
So they basically prioritized the greater good over their own personal feelings, even when it meant making a really difficult choice.
Yeah.
And, researchers think this happens because speaking a language that isn't your native tongue, it actually creates a bit of emotional distance,
Uh-huh.
allowing you to tap into more rational, less emotionally driven thought processes.
That's incredible. I never would have thought about that. I'm a bit of a worrier, so I wonder, would this mean that thinking in English could help me make more objective decisions, less emotionally charged decisions, especially in like really high pressure situations?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. And, it's not that English is inherently more logical than other languages or anything,
Right.
but the mental gymnastics of using a foreign language can engage different cognitive pathways.
It's like a mental workout then.
Exactly,
I
exactly.
like that.
And speaking of workouts, our sources also delve into this connection between bilingualism and something called cognitive flexibility.
Cognitive flexibility. Okay, so for those of us who might not be, brain scientists, what
Right.
exactly is that?
Yeah, so basically cognitive flexibility is your brain's ability to kind of like switch gears, you
Mm.
know, adapt to new information and solve problems in a flexible way.
Okay.
Basically, it's how mentally agile you are.
So someone who is fluent in both English and, let's say, Mandarin, they might be better at multitasking or dealing with like unexpected changes.
Precisely.
Right.
Studies have actually shown that bilingual individuals, they demonstrate what is called reduced switch costs.
Okay.
Essentially, they can jump between tasks more efficiently than monolinguals.
So they're not just switching languages, they're switching mental gears more easily in all aspects of their lives.
Exactly, yeah.
That's amazing. That's an incredible skill to have in today's world, right?
Yeah, it is.
Everything's moving so quickly. So,
Absolutely.
that ability to adapt quickly and efficiently, that's so important.
I completely agree. And the benefits of learning English, they extend beyond just mental agility, can actually boost your creativity too.
Now, that's something I think a lot of people don't realize. Tell me more about that. How are those two things connected?
Well, when you are learning a new language, especially one as globally significant as English, you are exposed to, all sorts of new ways of thinking and expressing yourself. And the very act of kind of, navigating those linguistic and cultural differences, it can actually make you more comfortable with ambiguity.
Okay, I can see how, like, being comfortable with ambiguity would be a key ingredient for creative problem solving.
Exactly. It's not just about memorizing vocabulary and grammar rules.
Mhm.
It's about expanding your understanding of how thoughts can be structured and expressed, period. And that whole process can actually make you a more creative thinker overall.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's amazing, right? You start out thinking you're just gonna, learn some new words, maybe impress your friends with a few phrases.
Right.
But it turns out this whole language learning thing, it goes so much deeper than that.
It really does.
Like, it's changing the way we solve problems, how we approach challenges,
Yeah,
even how creative we are. That's wild.
it's true. And it makes you realize, that learning a new language, it's not just about being able to communicate, right? It's about expanding your your mental horizons, kind of like opening yourself up to these new ways of thinking
Yeah, and when you're talking about a language like English, which is, I mean, it's everywhere, right?
everywhere.
It's spoken all over the world. It seems like those new ways of thinking, they would inevitably come with new cultural perspectives.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Learning any language can broaden your horizons, right? But English, with its global reach, can be, particularly powerful in that regard.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, right? Like, let's say someone grows up speaking Russian and then they become fluent in English.
Uh-huh.
Could they start to feel like they're, I don't know, navigating multiple cultural identities?
That's a great question, and it's something that researchers are really starting to look into more deeply. Because, it's not just about language, is it?
Right,
It's
right.
about understanding the nuances of communication, the unspoken rules, the humor,
Yeah, the humor.
even the gestures. I mean, those can vary so much from culture to culture.
So much. Yeah, it's like you're not just learning a new language, you're learning, a new culture, a new way of seeing the whole world.
Precisely, yeah. And for a lot of people, that can actually lead to, kind of an expanded sense of self, a feeling of being able to connect with a much wider range of people and ideas.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Some people even describe it as a boost in their self-confidence, knowing they
Uh,
can, like, move between these different cultural contexts with more ease.
Yeah, it's like you gain this new lens, right, through which to view the world and maybe even to view yourself. But it's not always easy, is it?
No.
It's not always this perfectly smooth process of like cultural integration.
That's right, and I think it's important to acknowledge that for some people, navigating those multiple cultural identities can also lead to
Yeah.
a sense of conflict
Right.
or uncertainty even.
Which makes sense. I mean, it's a lot to process, especially when you start thinking about all those like unspoken rules, right? All those cultural expectations that we've been talking about.
Exactly.
There are bound to be some misunderstandings along the way.
Absolutely, and even
Mhm.
even within different English-speaking cultures, the nuances of communication, they can vary wildly. What might be considered polite or appropriate in one context could be seen as
Yeah.
you know rude or awkward even in another.
Oh, tell me about it. It reminds me of this one time when I was traveling, and I'm not going to say where to protect the innocent, but I made this joke and I thought it was hilarious, right?
Yeah,
And let's just say my humor didn't exactly translate.
I know.
Learned a very valuable lesson about understanding the local sense of humor.
Oh, I've been there. It's those kind of experiences, as cringeworthy as they can be in the moment,
Mhm.
that really highlight, like you said, how important it is to be aware of those cultural differences.
Absolutely. It's like learning the secret code, you know? You need to know not just the words, but like the cultural context, all the stuff behind it.
Exactly, and that's what makes language learning so fascinating, right? It's not just a skill you acquire; it's a journey of cultural discovery.
I like that.
And
Yeah.
and with a language as globally influential as English, that journey can be incredibly enriching.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, those little cultural mishaps, they can be so awkward, you know?
Yeah,
But they're kind of inevitable, right?
they are.
It's all part of the learning process.
Absolutely, and I think those experiences, you know, as awkward as they might feel in the moment,
Yeah.
they highlight something really important. They remind us that language isn't just this tool for communication. It's a window into a whole other way of seeing the world.
I like that. A window into a different way of seeing the world. And for English learners, that window, it opens up to a whole lot of world, doesn't it?
It does.
Just given how globally, widespread the language is.
It really does. And the benefits of that exposure, of learning to kind of navigate those different cultural perspectives. I mean, they extend far beyond just, language acquisition.
Right.
They can enhance your social skills, your adaptability, even your career prospects.
Absolutely. It's amazing to me. You start out with what you think is this fairly simple goal. I'm going to learn to speak another language,
Yeah.
but it has these like ripple effects into these other aspects of our lives, our decision making, our creativity, even like we were saying, our sense of identity. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's true. And what's even more remarkable is that, these cognitive and cultural benefits of bilingualism, they seem to last a lifetime.
Really. So all those like mental workouts that we were talking about, those have long-term benefits for our brains.
Exactly, in fact. Some studies even suggest that bilingualism, including speaking English as a second language, might even provide a sort of cognitive reserve that can help protect against cognitive decline as we age.
Wow. That's really incredible. So it's not just an investment in like our present selves, right? It's an investment in our future selves as well.
I think that's a great way to look at it.
It really is. Yeah. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we?
We have.
I mean, we talked about that foreign language effect, which I still think is so fascinating. The cognitive benefits of bilingualism, the cultural shifts
So
that
it's
come
sort
with learning a global language like English. It's clear that this is about so much more than just,
Yeah.
memorizing vocabulary and grammar rules, though that's certainly part of it.
It really is. It's about, challenging yourself,
Yeah.
embracing these new perspectives, and
Yeah.
ultimately connecting with the world in this deeper, more meaningful way.
That's beautifully put. Well, to our listener out there, we would love to hear from you. How has your experience with English, or frankly any other language that you've learned, shaped the way you think, the way you see the world? It's certainly something to reflect on. Until next time on the deep dive, keep those brains engaged and keep those conversations flowing.